But your guy, we've mentioned him a couple of times, Mr. Power. He comes into Andretti next season. It feels that he could be the glue, basically the consistency catalyst. Bringing that mindset into Andretti, must also be for the benefit of Kyle and must also be for the benefit of Marcus Ericsson.
I think there are a lot of things that are exciting about what could happen in that team. Will going there for every reason is one of them, right?
Welcome to another RACER Debrief. I'm Lawrence Foster. I'm with David Malcher-Lopez from RACER. And to bookend the IndyCar season, we've got the return of a very special guest. We've got Oriol Servia to basically put some flesh on the bones as to what just happened with the NTT IndyCar Series. Oriol, beginning of the season, we all sort of spoke expectantly that, Alex Palou was a pretty good shot for a fourth championship. But the scale of that fourth championship, 8 wins, 4 second places, not only breaking his oval duck, but winning the Indy 500. I mean, it feels like it's not an IndyCar season. It feels like you shouldn't be doing that in IndyCar.
I think it blew everyone's mind, including his competitors, including my client, Will Power, which we know is still the fastest man on earth, and if you ask him, he will tell you, I've just never seen anything like it. The guy not only doesn't make mistakes, we've known that now for a few seasons, he doesn't make mistakes. He's just fast on every track, under any condition, oval, street, road, even when he doesn't start on pole, which doesn't happen often that he's not up front, but he's also able to not make mistakes, make the best out of it, right? So it's honestly, it's been the perfect driver all along in this car, in this championship, in this situation, no question.
Hi, quick timeout to tell you about something special. You are going to want to visit racer.com/bundle. RACER just dropped a bundle for real motorsports fans. It includes RACER Plus, the new streaming home for everything from WRC and Dakar to DTM, Crandon, the Isle of Man TT, drifting, and even these podcasts, all in one place. You name it. This is a full spectrum of racing, from grassroots to global, off-road to electric, 2 wheels or 4, and it's a spectacular deal. Head to racer.com/bundle to sign up now. All right, back to the show. I mean, David, we've got an extremely mature car in the DW12.
Yeah.
We've got pretty much parity between
and that was being nice on the age of
the car.
I was you're almost talking about my age that way.
I believe it might be slightly older than you, Oriol, but
close.
But we've also got it where Honda and Chevy. There's nothing between them. We've got it where there is basically, aside from maybe a little bit of shock development and whatever, there's a level playing field. How on earth do you win half the races, on such a level playing field?
Well, I mean, since the hybrid came in and pushed a lot of the weight distribution to the rear, it's really rewarded smooth drivers, and he is phenomenally smooth. And I've spoken to someone inside Ganassi who knows what he's talking about, and he said that basically he is expert at looking after fragile tire. Whenever the tires are fragile or very near the limit, he's superb at doing it, and he compared it to Dario Franchitti.
Mm-hmm.
But the technique required is different, because Dario used to kind of caress a car up all the way to the apex, kind of like an Alain Prost in the 80s and early 90s. Whereas Alex likes a pointy car, and so he gets in and out. He's straightening up quicker than most drivers, and it means he's not putting lateral load through the rear tires at the same time as he's putting a lot of longitudinal load through the rear tires as he's coming out of the corner. So he's just getting in and out and, keeping the turning to a minimum, or the time spent turning to a minimum. And so he's, the stark comparison for poor old Scotty Dixon is that he's a much scruffier driver. He's a very freehand artist, if you like. And he's, by his own confession, he's, saturating the rear tires and, burning them off too quick. And so Ganassi have to find a way to correct that for him. But in the meantime, Palou's, he came very close to winning 10 races this year.
Yeah.
If it hadn't been for that late race mistake at Mid-Ohio, and also Christian Rasmussen's phenomenal charge on fresh tires at Milwaukee, Palou would have won 10 races, which is just ridiculous.
This is RACER, your all-access pass to the best in motorsports, performance, and car culture. Get RACER Plus for live races, extended highlights, breaking news, and fan-favorite build and enthusiast shows, all in one place. From Formula Drift to off-road mayhem.
A full-blown nail-biter.
Supercars to grassroots brawls. Garages to rare collectors. Stream it all, anytime, anywhere. This is about machines and the people who move the culture forward. And when the screen fades, the story continues in RACER Magazine, a collectible trusted by champions, creators, and connoisseurs. Every page, a deeper dive into the soul of speed and performance. RACER Plus and RACER Magazine, the ultimate bundle. Built for the obsessed, powered by passion.
David makes a good point there about the change in weight distribution. It's almost like the hybrid in terms of changing the outcome of races or being a massive strategic factor was maybe a little bit of a non-event. But as Dave says there, these subtle changes that just play into a driver's hand. Is that, do you concur with that on the Palou driving theory?
100%. First, I totally agree that his magic is on how he understands the tire. And already the year with Coyne on his rookie season, you could tell, wow, this guy, yes, he's smooth, but not only he's smooth, to me, his number one quality is that he's able to get the tire to the very edge, very, very, very edge, without going 1 millimeter past that, right? Usually, top race car drivers, as you see, I'm pointing myself, top race car drivers, sometimes it takes a lot to get to that edge of the tire, to optimize at every part of the corner being at the edge of the tire. And the only way you have to find that edge is by going over the edge, like on anything else, right? So either you get a little too much speed and the front slides a little bit, or the rear on entry, the rear on exit. And if you're good or very good, you're just a little over the edge. So you just abuse the tire, so you're on the edge, but you don't kill it. Alex is able to find that edge without getting over the edge. You never see him yes, of course, you see him a couple of times on exit, but the way he drives is beautiful. Is he even trying? It actually reminds me, Dario a little bit, but to me it reminds me of Cristiano D'Amata when he won those years in 2000s with Newman Haas, where it just made it look easy, right? Even the way he always talked was like this. Made it look easy. But Alex is just able to do it all the time under any circumstance. And I think that's his real edge. But that is his natural ability. What I think separates Alex is that on top of that, he's a hard worker.
Yes.
And I think that the biggest gift he got, I think, is that when he arrives at IndyCar, when he arrives at Ganassi, he's gone through a career where in Europe, things were going well, but not great. Then he has to go to Japan and work hard. And I know, again, from my own experience, when you don't have a secure future, when you don't have even a 2-year deal, when you don't have, you just are forced to dig deeper, get better. Even if your level is here, you have to get there. If your level is there, you have to get up there. If your level is here, right? And Alex still has that on him, and I see it in guys like Will Power, and I keep bringing my client, not only because he's my client, but because I've always known he works really, really hard. He's always working on his driving, on his technique, doesn't matter if he's the guy with most poles, he still thinks doesn't drive good enough, right? And Alex is the same way. I actually remember, I believe it was the first year that he was at Ganassi that I was talking with Alex to, like, hey, can I help you in any way? Because at the end of the day, I've been here for a while and I had to work hard at things. And I'm like, dude, you have an opportunity, but you're going to have to work hard. And we were at St. Pete for the first race. And I'm like, what have you done to prepare for this race, right? And he brings up a folder. And in the folder, he had screenshots of whatever pole position of the year before, and then a video of these, a video of that. I'm like, oh, okay, sorry. Like, good. We work way harder than I ever have, So I know he's a guy that is always thinking too, and again, his natural ability plus body of work. Yeah. And that's why I think this year is just, all we've seen is a continuation of the build-up that he finished last year. Like, obviously, he was already a champion, right? And it's just continued, and the team around him obviously are amazing, great, talented individuals that once you're part of that little group that you have the winning horse and you see him pulling, you all give that extra 5% more. Yes. And then that's the magic we've seen this year. Like it's unbelievable. It's really the level of execution of that group. It's been mind-blowing.
On the Indy road course, I remember watching, they did some close-ups of Palou in the final stint, going through the corners at the back of the circuit, and we saw him cut loose, and like he was just sliding, just having fun, but at the same time he was pulling away from Pato, and I've never seen Pato look more shell-shocked after a race. And he's like, how the hell has this guy still got so much more grip than me at the end of the race? Pato was driving his ass off trying to catch Palou, and Palou was still pulling away while dirt tracking it around the... It's like, oh my God, if this guy's got this much in hand, it's like, why are the rest bothering,
Well, here's an interesting stat, and this kind of brings Oriol in, because so Alex wins 5 of the first 6 races. The only one who doesn't win is basically Andretti has its usual good sort of Long Beach weekend. But between you sort of leading the field, early on in the race in St. Pete,
as a pace car driver, let's make it clear. I mean, thanks for the flowers, but
as a pace car driver, but you didn't actually reappear for any sort of incident until like 3/4 of the way through the Indy Grand Prix. There was 400 green racing laps between that early yellow in St. Pete and the next one. So basically, Alex and the CGR crew, were always able to execute plan A. And to me, that seems to as well have played into their hands. You're not second guessing. You're not having to sort of like think on the fly. You're just having to be what you are. And I guess that maybe was a big factor in sort of that early season cushion.
I think that's a great point. Yeah. And it's also the way they operate. Like, they've taken randomness out of the equation. Yes. And with the races having less randomness, there were no yellows. Yeah. The random thing was actually there were no yellows. Yeah. It was able to, they were able to execute their strategy from start of the race, the plan, the mileage, and they had a fast car and a driver that doesn't make mistakes. And it's just like,
You never get a suggestion that there's any panic in the Ganassi ranks when they don't qualify as well as they want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, Palou started, 7th, I think, at St. Pete? And he just knew he was going to be fighting for the win. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just like, okay, that's the way the cards are dealt. We'll use those cards and we'll beat the lot of you.
And then luck again, falls in your place. When you're executing everything good, then things also come your way. And St. Pete is the perfect example. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Scott was going to win St. Pete. Yeah. Dixon was going to win St. Pete, which is usually a track that is not his best. Like we were talking about Pato earlier, winning Toronto. St. Pete, for whatever reason, it's never been too kind to Scott. And he was going to win. If Scott, and he has a radio problem, and they couldn't tell him to pit when he was to pit, blah, blah, blah. Alex ends up in front, and then Alex wins. Perfectly executed. race by Alex. I'm not taking out any merit from Alex, but it was probably going to be Scott's race. If Scott would have won, starts winning St. Pete, which is not his number one track, but breaks the trend that Alex had finished the season before. Oh, okay.
That's interesting.
I would have gotten a little air, and finally things are turning my way. It's my turn, because if you remember the season before, Scott had a fair amount of bad luck compared to Alex, right? So it's like, oh, okay, now it's my year. Maybe things would have, but no, it goes again on Alex plate, which he was already executed. I mean, he was right there, obviously. It's not like it came from the sky. And then the next tracks, thermal, it's just, IMS, places that suit him, no yellows, perfect in it, and it just was unstoppable.
Yeah.
Early season, Kyle Kirkwood, Andretti Global, gets 3 wins, and you're thinking, not only is that guy now sort of, showing that he is de facto team leader at Andretti, but you're suddenly wondering, is this somebody who, okay, he didn't start the season with quite the momentum of Alex. Nobody did. But was there a point where you actually felt Kirkwood could be a genuine factor, a season-long contender with Alex?
I thought so. Honestly, listen, Marcus finished second at the 500, right? So they had a decent package too for the 500. If that would have been Kyle, and and who knows if maybe Kyle could have won. Like that pass that Alex makes on Marcus, maybe Kyle would have blocked more. I don't know, right? But that, again, if it was Kyle and Kyle won that race, it would have been a very different end of the championship, I think, too. So yeah, and I think Kyle is a very complete driver, another guy that works hard, has a good brain, so definitely Kyle is I think a super talent that is going to be challenging for championships. I have no question.
Kyle sort of not saying he loses a beat, but certainly loses that momentum that he had, during the win streak. You've got it then where Pato O'Ward, gets those couple of mid-season wins. It's kind of, not McLaren sort of up there with CGR, weekend to weekend, but what was Pato lacking, do you think, for sort of putting it? I mean, we're almost now looking at a bunch of people why they didn't get close to Alex. It's that sort of seasoned, but why didn't Pato, sort of put a few more things together?
I don't know. I felt that McLaren did do what we predicted and got more consistent, largely because I think Christian Lundgaard's arrival and his differing driving style from Pato's helped get a more well-rounded package within McLaren, so that if one guy's setup wasn't working, well, we'll try the other guys. And I think that combined force of Pato and Lundgaard pushed the whole team upwards, and they end up second and fifth in the championship. I think that is a big step. But you don't catch a CGR that easily, and you don't catch an Alex Palou that easily. I mean, half the problem for the opposition is that Palou never has a onboard on his car. No one knows what the hell he's doing.
Why is that? How can they get away with that? Honestly, I've just noticed that too.
That is correct, yeah.
And how, as an IndyCar championship, can they block? Can a team block that you don't have an in-car camera?
I don't know.
It's weird that he never has. He never has an in-car camera.
No one knows.
Right, I'm not going to say the wrong thing here then. So we'll put this out to IndyCar then, as to whether it is a simple sponsor pay-to-play thing or whether there is something sort of more.
I know there are some cameras that, as a sponsor, you can make sure I want to have an in-car camera. There's a cost for that, but at the end of the day, it's a show that IndyCar is putting out there. And that's why we started having in-car cameras, so they can show how can you not have an in-car camera on the guy that has been winning every race? Don't you want to show that to the fans? It's weird. But honestly, I just recently realized that. So that's a good question to bring up to IndyCar for sure.
I know that the year before as well, when we were listing the onboards for each race, and that you would occasionally get a Scott Dixon camera, but it was the exception rather than the norm. This CGR and sort of lack of onboards is definitely not a new thing. So Oriol, we're going to put it out there. Let's see if we can hear from IndyCar and find out why our runaway champion didn't have an active onboard camera.
Yeah.
Never. Yeah.
I've now forgotten what your question was. Oh, about McLaren, wasn't it?
It wasn't memorable, but anyway, carry on.
No, but I think the interesting thing about Lundgaard is that he has learned a lot from Paddock, and I noticed just towards the end of the year his performance on ovals suddenly went, and he looked comfortable. He wasn't overdriving, and maybe that was just his effort to make sure that he finished in the top 5 in the championship or whatever. But I thought Lundgaard really improved as much as Paddock did, and I think they're just complementing each other so well. I don't know if they get along that well, but I know that as drivers, what they each bring to the team is different, and it's benefiting both of them. It's fantastic.
Because that's interesting, because we didn't have like a crossover point where suddenly, Lundgaard is, obviously about to become the top dog.
No.
We've got it where Pato, year on year, I feel like he is still becoming, more of the complete item as well.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of, you look across the board at the various teams, including sort of changes for 2026. But is that sort of McLaren duo of Lundgaard and O'Ward maybe the definitive duo in IndyCar racing? Sort of surpassing Palou and Dixon, surpassing, a Penske pairing or whatever. Or
I don't know surpassing, but they're a good match, because it's not only the different in driving styles. I think it's the different on approach. Like Pato relies a lot on his natural talent, which he has a lot, and Lundgaard is talented, but also I think comes from a career like Alex, in a way that he had to work his way up, and he knows he needs to spend the extra hour with the engineer, right? So probably Pato first is like, oh, this guy is fast, and wait, he just beat me. Oh, he's still in the paddock working. Tomorrow I'm going to stay longer too, right? So I think it's created that good dynamic, and you have the beautiful Tony Kanaan at honestly running the team that he has a lot of experience and different teammates, and he's seen it all. So he's probably made Pato like, hey, look, this, you got to pay attention. Like, someone here is working harder and it's paying off. So I shouldn't say working harder, because I'm not there, and I don't know how in detail how much Pato or works or doesn't, but I know Christian does, right? So I'm sure he brought that to the table. But back to your question, I think it's not that we've had like now Pato or Lundgaard or a Penske car or an Andretti car, and then I think that's what we expect from IndyCar. Like what we've seen behind Palou is what IndyCar is. It's hard to get it every weekend right, because it's so competitive. And one weekend you're in a street race, and the next one in a road course, the next one at the 500, and then you're in an oval on a concrete, complete different story. And that's why IndyCar always is hard to have the same winner after weekend, because it's really hard to put all together. And that's, I think, what we see. If we take out Alex Palou of the equation, it's a normal IndyCar championship. It's hard to get it all right.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
We just had a guy and a team up front that have eliminated everything. That, to start your first question, right? He's completely like being in a different planet, different universe.
Yeah, I've never. Well, I wouldn't say I've never seen anything like it, but it reminds me of. I can't remember if it was 91 or 92, but Michael Andretti got 8 wins.
Right, yeah.
But there was also some weird stat that he led the first lap of 14 of the 16 races or something like that.
Yeah, great.
Which is just phenomenal. But it's that kind of dominance that we see.
So my point is, on all the other teams, I think it's been a normal performance behavior. Even Andretti, they won street races, second at the 500. Like, they've been up there. Just there was one dish in the menu that everything came together perfectly, and every other dish was just very good, but not 3 Michelin star.
Palou was the ultimate paella.
He was the 3 Michelin star, that everything is perfect, and even in a, not that I ever been in a 3 Michelin star restaurant, but you hear that everything it's perfect,
Yeah.
right? The service, the music, the food. And I'm sure the 3 Michelin-star restaurant cannot replicate that experience every night.
Uh-huh.
But this guy did it the whole season.
So if you look, couple of other teams, beyond Kyle Kirkwood, Marcus Ericsson, Colton Herta at Andretti. Dave was basically predicting great things for Colton Herta before the season. Is this a guy who basically was thinking about 2026 in 2025? Is this a guy who, had kind of like, I mean, it was a guy who surely was racing for super license points in a perfect world, and yet just seemed to, for large parts of the season, drop the ball completely. I mean, just give us your take on Colton's season.
Listen, I don't know. It's clear that I think within the team they need to work on consistency in general, right? You cannot have a guy winning a race and then the other two like lost. Like, to me, that shows a weakness within the team.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not so much even the drivers. It's like how can Marcus have such a horrible season?
Yeah.
Like that's showing some really weak links in that team, because we all know Marcus is better than he's shown this year, right? And maybe again, it's the same as when things go well, like Alex, then everything gets an extra plus. When things go wrong, you yourself make mistakes, you lose confidence. So I'm not saying also it's all the team, but the team couldn't rectify whatever was going wrong, and Colton was kind of in the middle there. Like, so, I mean, we saw. I think sometimes Colton showed his super speed, and he's been close to excellence even this season a couple of times. But yeah, there was something lacking there in terms of I think team structure. To be honest,
right.
Like if I can criticize from a distance, it's always easy, right? But I think that's what we've seen there.
But your guy. We've mentioned him a couple of times, Mr. Power. He comes into Andretti next season. It feels that he could be the glue, basically the consistency catalyst, the guy who basically knows. I mean, you look at his last championship, one win, but massively consistent, just knowing when to push, knowing when to collect, bringing that mindset into Andretti. Must also be for the benefit of Kyle and must also be for the benefit of Marcus Ericsson.
I think there are a lot of things that are exciting about what could happen in that team. Will going there for every reason is one of them, right? Like, Will, fastest man, he's got the speed. Will, number one quality, in my opinion, is he, pain in the ass is not the word. He's, there's many words.
David is, isn't it?
He's so persistent.
Yeah.
He's so persistent. Like, again, he's studious of the sport in terms of his driving, the setup of the car. Is all he thinks all day.
Mm-hmm.
All he thinks all day, every day. It truly, I thought I was dedicated to the sport. There's more levels, and Will is definitely up there. So he brings that, the speed and his crazy work ethic and persistence to do the best he can. Then also, as we know, that team has gone through changes, right? Michael was the lead of the team forever. And I obviously am great friends with Michael, have huge respect, but there were changes there. You have Dan Torres there, which at the end of the day is a new guy into racing. Is the new team owner, the new kid on the block that in a way wants to show like, hey, I know I'm new, but I want to win. And I see him a little bit what we were talking about earlier. I see as someone that is able to surround himself with people that know racing. You guys know I'm a huge fan of Craig Hampson, because I was at Newman Haas, and every year he was there. I was always mind blown by how smart, how hard worker. So he's got Craig there, and through the year when I could see that maybe Will would end up there, I kept asking questions within the team. Hey, how is the change? What's as also we've known they've gone through turmoil this season with no shop. Like, they had to give up the shop because McLaren was taking it. They were supposed to have a new shop that was never ready. So I'm sure that didn't help the performance through the year, right? But I kept asking questions, and from any mechanic, engineer, I always got the same answer. No, these guys just giving us the tools and letting us work. So you bring then willpower there, which comes with that, again, body of work and persistence and dedication. And that, I hope, creates that change of tunes like, hey, we have now, the tools, the energy to go after a Ganassi Palou combination, which, unless you have a catalyst like that, you must start imagine starting again like now, like, man, what can we do to beat this guy, right?
Yeah.
What can we reinvent in ourselves to like bring something extra to the table? Well, they have, right? They brought wheel, and it's not just wheel, as I said, like everything else that has the ingredients, and you need to align the ingredients and make that perfect dish or restaurant experience we're talking about. It's not an easy feat, but there's definitely the catalyst. So that's what I hope. And at the end of the day, Will has been at Penske for 17 years. Penske is not just the name and big sponsors. They operated at a very high level for a long time. Will has been a big part of that and seen the change and know how they operate. So he's got a lot to give, right? So there is hope there. It's not just about Will and my client and Andretti. Like McLaren, they've stepped up. Ganassi are going to be there. You have Carpenter, winning with Rasmussen, and I'm sure that made Rossi. It was nice to see Alex like happy for Rasmussen at the win in Milwaukee, but I'm sure it's made him like, hey, I'm supposed to be the lead here. Like they're gonna work harder, those guys. So no, it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be tough to win these guys, but I think there's plenty of energy in the paddock that people feel like let's give it a go.
I defend her to a moment.
You certainly can, and I would like you to.
Because one of the things that's absolutely highlighted this year is something that I thought Andretti had kind of eradicated, but in the Rossi era. But it did remind me of Rossi, the number of times positions got squandered by lousy pit stops.
Right.
And the most obvious one I can think of right now is St. Pete, where I thought Herta was going to win. I think he's the one person that could have stopped Palou and Dixon scoring a 1-2. And time and again, I used to. So I noticed that Herta's stops weren't that great. And I don't know if it's a personnel thing or just they need better training or whatever. But I think Kirkwood's pit crew was kind of quite up there, and Herta's was way down here on the Firestone pit stop performance. So I think that's definitely something that Mr. Taras needs to sort out. With the help of Rob Edwards, who's a hard ass, and he's delaying his retirement because he's excited about what's happening in 2026.
I agree, and that's part of the consistency I think the team needs. Like, again, any Ganassi car or any Penske car are going to have an amazing pit stop. Like I've fought them, I know. Like and with Andretti, you're right. Like they've had weak pit stops, which you cannot allow nowadays in how competitive the championship is. Like you really can't. And
I think without the yellows, he might have beaten Kirkwood at Detroit. I need to go back and check on that their respective lap times. But yeah, I think Herta could have got 1 or 2 wins.
The speed was there. That's why I defend him too. Like the speed was there. I don't think he was not trying. And
no, I said he wasn't trying, but I just wonder as well. This whole Cadillac distractions.
Yeah.
Keep ratcheting up the super point tally in your mind every weekend or whatever. And
also, if I can, as an outsider, why was never Kirkwood like a contention for the Cadillac seat? Isn't he also American and winning races?
Well,
and I don't know why was never part of the equation.
Yeah. Works for Mr. Taurus. And
I know. I will ask one day. But yeah, I just don't know why Kyle doesn't like Formula One or was never tempted or I know originally it was going to be Colton because for 3-4 years it's been like in the conversation, but
maybe Kirkwood feels that's stupid, but maybe he feels too old because isn't he older than Herta?
He is,
even though he started way later.
I don't know.
But he,
But he's also always been, more of that man on the mission, in terms of just coming through the feeder series, knowing that he's got a target in IndyCar. I just wonder whether, he's more focused, eyes on the prize. He wants an Indy 500. He wants an IndyCar title. You look at Colton as well, even down to family background, and, Brian there testing Minardi's back in the, like, what was it, early 2000s or whatever.
Yeah. And he raced in Europe.
Yeah. I mean, there's more of a sort of like a bigger perspective on the Herta side, but that's a pretty good point there. I
just remember thinking in the middle of the season when Kyle was winning races, and I obviously thinking of, if either Colton or Kyle would move to F1, then I have a seat for a wheel there.
Yeah.
And when Colton was having we basically needed Colton to finish in the top 4 in the championship to get enough points for the super license.
Yeah.
And when he started to look bad, that he was having a bad season and Kyle is winning, I'm like, okay, it's okay. They'll think of Kyle to go there. And never once I heard in anyone or even you guys writing about it, like never once like, wait, what about Kyle is American, he's winning, could he go? Was never. So that's what, I don't know if I'm missing something, but anyway.
But there's another sort of like group as well, those who tried, and you look at Joseph Newgarden, Connor Daly, Santino Ferrucci, ones who sort of not only had that European perspective, but has actually gone over. Alex Rossi as well, where the Herta thing now is a guy who, depending how it pans out with the F2, with whatever FP1s, with Cadillac and stuff like that, it seems brave to actually embark on that route at this point.
Super brave, especially when he's in a team in a position that, again, you could think like, okay, let's regroup next year. I have a real shot at winning the 500, the championship. Mm-hmm. And like, if I can share a little insight, right? When again, I've had meetings through the year to try to see if there was a place for Will there. On one of my first meetings with Dan Torres, like, again, it looked like Colton was not going to have enough points. Kyle was doing well, and Marcus was having a horrible season. So when I sat down with Dan, this is racing. I knew that Marcus had a multi-year contract, but I don't know if there's performance clause. So my original conversation is like, hey, is that a potential seat for Will? Mm-hmm. And I have to say, Dan right away, immediately, and every conversation I had with him was like, hey, I know this is not the performance we expect of that car, mm-hmm. But I'm 100% going to honor the contract we have with Marcus. There's no question he's staying in the car. I'm like, okay, you say this now, but let's see in a couple of races. And a couple of races were bad for Marcus, and then he would still say the same. And then when they brought up first the because he was like, well, but let's continue talking because there's maybe things. I'm like, what you're going to put a fourth car? I was thinking, I don't know. And then it's like, no, when they told me the F2 possibility for Colton, I think like everyone else, you're like, that's bananas. That makes no sense. That's stupid. He's never going to do it first. And it's just, come on. But if you truly analyze Colton or any driver from the championship, if you want to have a real shot at Formula One at doing well in this Cadillac team, if he got the enough points this year, super license, and he was getting that seat, you're going to a new team that we all know they're going to have I don't know what kind of performance they're going to have. It's going to be so tough for them. Yeah. Like they have so many things that we can get into it, but we don't need to. It's going to be a really tough situation. You are going into a new championship with all the things that means. New tracks, new, so many new systems. Also the dynamic. We all know, like it's different, the dynamic in a championship in the US, in Europe. It should not be that different, but it really is. Yep. The energy within the teams, between teams, with everything. So if you really want to give it your best shot at if you get a seat in F1 at Cadillac, and you're still getting paid, of course, you're not giving, anything away. If they tell you like, hey, you'll have 1 year, let's say in F2, to get prepared for it, and you don't lose anything, and actually, okay, yeah, I'm going to be better prepared if I do a year of F2 than if I don't, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to learn the tires, you learn the tracks, all of it. Living there actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And that's when I started to like, okay, this idea is actually may work if they also see it this way. I wasn't really talking with the Hertas. I'm good friends with Brian, but I was like, obviously there was a big decision, right? And I was biased, so I'm not gonna go there like, oh, you should do it. But I started to think this could really work, because if he really wants to go to F1, this is the best shot. Have a year in F2, learn as much as you can, prepare, and go for it. So anyway, I don't know how I got there, but
no, it's very good.
but to me, is something that I saw myself changing 180 on. This is crazy nonsense to this actually makes the most sense.
You got it as well, where at the moment Jack Crawford, who is doing pretty good things in Formula 2. You know, he sort of put his hat in, sort of went onto the you know, the sort of like the European feeder ladder for Formula 1. In terms of sort of, it almost feels like Colton has got to have a carrot in place. If you do this in Formula 2, then there will be, you know, a place you in the Cadillac team. Because otherwise, you know, something like a Jack Crawford, if you want a sort of a ready-made plug and play, you know, American to go into Formula 1, it doesn't feel that Herta is necessarily sort of like front of the line. You know, I just wonder what is kind of like built in as guarantees, you know.
Well, that I mean, at least I don't know if you guys know their details, but I agree with you. But also, Colton has proven also like that he's a fast guy.
Yeah.
You know him well. Like he's a professional. You know the speed is there. If you give him, you know, a little bit of knowledge of this, you would think he can deliver. So, no, that both are strong cases.
Yeah.
Little aside, do you think the super license is maybe slightly patronising when it comes to what it gives to IndyCar?
Slightly.
Yeah, I'm trying to be slightly.
It's insulting. Yeah. Like I you know, there's so many things in politics in general that we all, I think, see that makes no sense, and somehow they get away with it. Like that's insulting in every way to the fans.
Yeah.
It's insulting to the fans, as insulting as the DRS is to the fans. Like, how can you call an overtake of someone that has got 10 miles on you? Just you know, so those are things to me that are not the way to solve a problem, overtaking, and yeah, like it's the point system. Everyone knows, everyone agrees, and makes no sense.
Yeah. Back to IndyCar.
Yeah.
It's been touched on via Mr. Power, but Penske in 2025. Do you know, if we'd had a season which was the last 3 races, say,
It'd look like a typical Penske season.
it would have looked like a typical Penske season.
Yeah.
You know, you got it where a winner piece for Will, for Joseph, a couple of podiums there for Scott McLaughlin.
Yeah.
It was, though, the final fifth of the season
Yeah.
was basically Penske as usual. But, I mean, everything before it.
I mean, it's easy to kind of like say that it was, you know, the loss of Cindric and Kyle Moyer and Ron Rzuski in May was a catalyst to them. What's the opposite of a catalyst?
An anti-catalyst?
Yes. You know,
It's probably something in Spanish. I don't know.
But that suppressed their potential in some regard. But I thought they looked kind of not quite Penske even before the month of May. And I mean, that's ignoring the fact that Scotty Mack got a fantastic pole at St. Pete. But yeah, I just think they never had it. They never had it. I feel like there was a major catch up by more than just Ganassi. Obviously didn't just catch up; they leapt ahead. But in terms of like a way to look after the tires, I felt that everyone else had gotten better. And as we've already touched on, I think Lundgaard helped make Paddock better. I thought we saw Meyer Shank look a lot stronger in qualifying than. There were sometimes when Meyer Shank were quicker than their partner company Ganassi in qualifying, and there's only other things that went wrong in there. So I think there's a lot of teams making gains, and Penske somewhat stood still. So I think there was that issue. But I think we're also forgetting that actually they weren't running low down a lot of the time. I mean, if it hadn't been for that horrible shunt that Newgarden had at Gateway, where he launched off Louis Foster's spun car, I think.
But you can do 2 or 3 big missed opportunities for Newgarden, especially. Yeah. Sort of, but.
Yeah, he actually led a lot of laps. Yeah. But I think all on ovals.
Yeah.
I think, and they probably won't want to admit this, but I think definitely Joseph, and maybe slightly with McLaughlin, I think when they realised how the season was going, I think they lost a scintilla of dedication or something. I don't know. They just didn't look like the phenomenons in qualifying that we've come to expect from them. I always expect them to just pluck some magic out of thin air, and I felt those two didn't, or certainly not Newgarden, and that's why he ended up 12th in the championship. Like, it was never it stopped being a surprise when they didn't make it through Q1 or something. And that's not like him. I know he had other certain distractions, and I think he missed Cindric. Because you see, one of the things, I know Cindric's a great race tactician, but I think he was also fantastic at putting Newgarden into clean air and qualifying as well, knowing exactly when he had to leave pit lane. And I think he missed Cindric from that regard. I think he was also put out that Cindric got fired, and he didn't know about it until Cindric was fired.
Oriol, you've just before we go too far down that down that rabbit hole, you said about the refresh at Andretti, Will coming in and stuff. Does it also work the same way, do you think, with Penske? Taking a punt is probably the wrong phrase for bringing in David Malukas, but it's a different sort of structure in terms of the driver lineup at Penske next year. You've got the new kid. You've got it where, Scott McLaughlin now, 3 seasons, whatever, under his belt now. You've got Joseph as the potent elder statesman. I mean, were they due a refresh, whether it was sort of, Will or somebody else kind of being sort of, maybe sort of cycled out of the Penske universe?
I think David will bring that freshness of a younger. Actually, has he been announced?
No.
Right. So we all assume.
I'm
making an assumption based on.
Me too. But I was like, it's weird. Why are they waiting so long? I think we've all known. Actually, it's the whole year. But
it may be Stingray, Rob. We don't know.
It's true. Chances are it's Malukas, and I think he's hungry, he's young, and hey, you finally get your Penske overall. Mm-hmm. You want to show up, right? So I'm sure he's going to bring energy. Also, the team has gone through horrible turmoil. Again, it's not just team; it's the 3, the number 1, 2, and 3 of the team, right? I think Jonathan Duguid is very good.
Yeah,
and he's been able to. The end of the season kind of made the team gel again, and I'm sure they're going to work really hard through the winter. And it's Penske. They have the tools. They still have a lot of great people that've been there for 20, 30 years, and they're going to be contenders. And they have to show that this year was a fluke, and they're gonna come strong. So I am definitely expecting them to be at front, and Malukas with Foyt. You got to give Larry Foyt also great credit. We've all knew that they kind of had a Penske car because they had a technical partnership, but you still have to execute. And many times they executed better than the actual Penske guys. Yeah. In qualifying, in race, in pit stops too. They were often up there, and I'm just saying, Larry's another team that definitely stepped up with the right tools. He showed he could do it. But again, Malukas is now going to the A team, and I am. I think in a different way than Will going to Andretti, right? Because it's more like structurally and stuff. You were touching on Joseph and Scott maybe losing. I don't know. You said interest or energy. I think focus. I think what I saw from a little bit the inside. There's actually a movie that I like a lot that never got much popularity with Brad Pitt called Ad Astra.
Yeah.
Which I think as an action movie is amazing. I think it's one of the best action movies. And at the end of the movie, anyway, Brad Pitt goes through these many adventures that he's somehow saving his life last minute by just making the right decision, right? And at the end of the movie, he says, something like, I just focused on essentials at the expense of everything else to an extreme, right?
Right.
And I think in racing, especially in a situation like Penske, where that there was real turmoil, it wasn't just, I don't feel good today. I mean, crazy turmoil. I think they didn't do that. Like if I'm Joseph, Scott, I know Will did, but even Will, like it was hard to just focus on the essentials. Like, what do I have to do? Sit down with the engineer, work for 3 hours, make the car better tomorrow. Forget the noise. It wasn't just noise. It was forget the winds.
Yeah.
And they couldn't do that. And honestly, I'm not saying it was easy or even expected given the difficulties that they all encounter, but they did not focus on the essentials.
Right.
At the expense of everything else. Everything else was actually in the equation all the time. I saw it.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Guys, the clock is ticking. Now, there was a bunch of things I was going to cover. I was going to cover Flippin' Heck. I was going to cover Louis Foster, the rookies. I was going to cover.
Yeah, he deserves it. He deserves it.
Yep.
He, Rookie of the Year at Ray. Actually, we haven't spoken about Ray Hall.
Yep.
Which I forget what did we say before the season started. What did we expect? I honestly I don't remember what we said, but I think it's a team that have definitely shown a big step forward. They said, "Hey, we're here. We have the speed. We're like N Graham." Every year they say he's gonna retire or like, dude, he showed he's there to be counted on, and the whole team. I think getting Jay Fry there has helped, but the commitment of the three owners more than ever, and Louis Foster winning Rookie of the Year, it just shows his great talent and he had the tools to do it. So I expect them to be up front too.
I think it's worth mentioning ECR again.
Well, this is the thing. I was going to say, I was going to close by asking the both of you, give me, in terms of like surprise packages of the year, also give me your kind of disappointments of the year.
Well,
But I wonder whether ECR does sort of like come under one of those surprise hits, basically.
absolutely.
Yeah, so-
'Cause I think Christian Rasmussen, I was worried for him because he just, a phenomenal talent. He just kept knocking down walls. And 2 years ago, I thought, God, there's no hope for him. He became, Nolan Siegel's kind of like replaced him as the guy that, oh, come on, you haven't had your spin this weekend yet, or whatever.
Gosh,
But
yeah, he's going to get a bunch of phone calls. He's basically getting a full bunch of phone calls from Colton Herta's whole pit crew. He's going to.
but Rasmussen kept it together, and I think he feels really validated by the presence of Alexander Rossi there.
Right.
He knows this is a multiple race winner, and if I compare well to him, then I'm doing good. So I don't need to be absolutely on the ragged edge all the time. I can just drive at 101% instead of 103.
Which is what he didn't do in Milwaukee the last 10 laps. I was like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
That
But anyway.
was like Montoya in his first year on ovals. Jimmy Vasser used to just say it wasn't his road and street course pace, it's the fact that he was on opposite lot going around the short ovals. He said that. I was like,
Yeah, I
oh
think
my
it's St.
God.
Louis 1999. He still is one of my favorite oval races to watch
Right.
of Montoya. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was lovely. I just like seeing Ed Carpenter find a good business partner. And now that he's got that backing, to see that kind of like push the whole team up. And they started getting brave in strategy as well. those last 2 or 3 races, they were
But
just pulling
ECR
in
were like
Rossi.
that in the past, where you knew ECR could make the right calls on ovals.
Yeah.
You know, they had that sort of chutzpah on ovals, and that did seem to be back. But
Absolutely.
Oriol, what about you? A revelation or a surprise package?
I'll go with Rahal because I actually am a little disappointed with ECR. Because I think that the speed is there, but they've been, maybe I expected more. And with Alex too in that group, and I'm sure they've shown speed, so they're gonna get there. But to me, Rahal is a team that they were for a long time just not. And this year I've seen a lot of shiny moments that if they're able to line up and I'm biased, obviously. I've raced for that team many years. I know a lot of the people, but also this year they brought an engineer that I've worked many times that I'm a big fan, Yves Toudon, the French Yves, and I think he's brought a lot of his qualities that were maybe lacking in the team structure, and it's only gonna build up from there. So that to me has been a good positive surprise. I'm
going
to
throw in as well Rinus VeeKay.
Yes,
absolutely,
exactly.
I'm glad you brought Rinus because I'm a huge fan.
But for me, he's a surprise and a disappointment. The surprise being that he just clicked immediately once Michael Cannon was on board.
Right.
I thought that was great. I didn't know if that was going to work. I'm delighted it did. I think Rinus has got phenomenal car control, and I think Cannon is great at listening to him and basically taking on board the driver's feedback and adapting according to that. But my disappointment is that they're now split apart, and that Rinus is going elsewhere. I hope it's because Rinus is heading to
Rinus
Foyt.
is going to the sort of like the Penske aligned Foyt thing, which is
Penske's waiting room, or AJ Foyt Racing as we call it. Yeah.
But there's a point where AJ Foyt Racing isn't a waiting room. I mean, you look at things like, what Ferrucci achieves with them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They do feel like they are becoming more and more of a destination team.
Emma Lucas qualifying second at Detroit.
Yeah.
But I'm a huge fan and friend of Cannon.
Right.
But Rinus already did it at Barber. With Ed Nathman. Ed Nathman was his engineer, which I have tremendous respect. One of the smartest engineers I've ever known and actually worked with at Patrick in 2002. He had been out of the sport for a long time. They came in with John Diggles in that team. And to your point, Rinus was able to make it work with great engineers, but that had been out of the paddock for a decade at least, right? So again, Rinus is one guy that I think we've seen over and over overachieve with the package he has, in my opinion, right? So I really hope he gets a shot if this coming year or whenever in a top team, because he again, he's not my client at all. But I'm a huge Adrian Sassman is his manager, who used to be my manager, and I love dearly. I think Rinus is unbelievable. Yeah. I think even if finally he's getting, he's getting noticed finally, I still think he's underrated.
Yeah, well, I think he underrates himself. I was listening to an interview with him on, I think it was IndyCar Radio, and they asked him, where do you still feel you need to improve? And he didn't say, we need to improve our one-lap pace. He said, I need to improve my one-lap pace. I'm thinking, that's the one thing you've always had, buddy.
No, but willpower thinks that still. Yeah. Honestly, that's to me that you always have something to improve. You always can work harder at something. And so, again, that's maybe why he overachieves. Like he's...
Yeah. Yeah, but like I think he has paddock levels of car control, Rinus. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, well, taking this full circle then.
Yeah.
We looked at...
I'm sure we've forgotten about someone that we're going to feel horribly...
Meyer Shank.
We didn't... Meyer Shank, the sleeper hit. In terms of Rosenquist and just being... That was a consistent dude this season.
That second place at Road America was very gratifying to see, but the other...
And Marcus Armstrong did great.
I've got a theory about this, because I think... I remember him when he first came over from F2... he was saying how much he didn't enjoy babying the Pirellis that they had to use in F2. And I think now that you got to baby the tires again because of the weight of the hybrid, I think that's just seen him
showcasing. And again, a little insight through the year, right? I had meetings with Mayor Shank potentially to bring Will there. Because they run a great team. I love the owners. It's, the partnership with Ganassi. But I was feeling a little bad because I was like, hey, Marcus is starting to really come to grips with the car. And I would feel a little bit bad that if Will takes his seat, because I think he's just going to flourish more next year, right? He's going to get confident and it's going to show well. I think Marcus is showing good potential.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think we've been through the field. Actually, one thing, and this is a disappointment. I was expecting more from Prema, and I was expecting more from Callum Islet as the sort of like the talisman for Prema. I don't think either car got into the sort of like the leaders' circle payout at the end of the season.
Callum the 21st.
Oh, he just squeezed in, did he? Well. But in terms of a team coming in with that backstory, that experience, just the firepower, and then suddenly realising, actually, this is IndyCar.
Funnily enough, Oriol called it pre-season.
I did. Okay, I was going to say I wasn't surprised because it's a championship, like actually every championship nowadays, everywhere. It's all about a specialization. What's the word I'm looking for? It becomes very specialized. You need to know when to put the red tires in qualifying. Are you going to do 1 lap or 2 laps? Are you going to do half a pound less or more in tire pressure? Are you going to, when I change to reds, we need to do 50 more rear springs. Like there's so many little things. You can be the best team in the world, but if you don't have the experience, if you have 2 drivers that both don't have, I mean, Callum had some experience, but not 5 seasons in IndyCar, right? Yeah. And I know for a fact that they came with a little bit the attitude of, no, we know better, but we know a lot. And first when they hired Michael Cannon, like, okay, they're being smart. Let's hire someone that knows. And then he didn't even last to the first race of the season. So like, okay, that was a little red flag.
Downloaded his brain and then flicked it.
Yeah, but it's not just about having the setup. It's again, you, as I said, like, I one day hope, I don't think they know how they got that pole position. How can, do you know the amount of work that a team like Penske, we're talking about Andretti not delivering. Do you know the amount of work of Andretti does for the Indy 500? The work they do in the gearboxes, the work they do in the body feed, the work they go analyzing the last 20 years at that race and half a degree of temperature and wind and then a team, okay, you have the setup. You're going to beat them all? Not only do well, you're going to beat them all in qualifying? Something weird happened.
They had the world's best supplier of helicopter tape.
Exactly. I'm just saying, like, I'm absolutely not saying that there was any cheating. Absolutely not saying there was any cheating. I'm just saying there's something that one day we'll learn, like, oh, wow, okay, that makes sense now. Because now it doesn't. Like maybe they run a car that somehow was like with a teal that created a downforce in the tunnel that now we don't understand. Like something like that, because it just doesn't make sense.
No, the one thing guarantee is that car was completely above board for qualifying at Indy. But as you say, sort of looking into the, by sort of, just waking up and having that sort of, that epiphany on the setup. You're right.
And why only one of the 2 cars?
Yeah.
Like, okay, if Robert had bigger balls, I said it, and qualifying did great, then Callum would be 5th, 4th, like, a fast car is a fast car. All in one car was like miles ahead of everyone else. It just didn't add up to me. It's just, there's answers there that we don't have. That's what I'm saying.
Well, guys, we are going to wrap it here because Dave is obviously going to now sit back and wait for his phone to ring with, I don't know, I think there's about 20 people who've got basically something to say to you, Dave, after that one. But that's great. That's all part of the conversation. We've now got the rest of the longest off season in top tier racing. So, Oriol, we'll see you before the start of the next IndyCar season. Yep. Well, I think what I would love to do is bring Oriol in during the winter, and basically, I just want to talk about anything. So. get yourself.
More Brad Pitt movies or
Yes.
Yeah, well, yeah.
The way the one Brad Pitt movie we didn't mention is
the
F1.
worst. Sorry,
Well, I was going to do the final scene of Inglourious Bastards, but
that's a great movie.
that is a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to bring Oriol back in just to get completely eclectic over the winter. But by then, we'll know a little bit more about how the form is sort of shaping up for IndyCar 2026. But,
Yeah, there's a lot of silly season movement still to do.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, we got VK to be confirmed. We got Malukas to be confirmed. We've got
yeah.
who comes in from Formula 2 this year. So
Let's talk a little Formula 2, Formula 1. I've honestly, the last 3 years, I've become a bigger Formula 1 fan than I ever was. I think it's exciting to watch, and it's great for the sport. I always felt, even when NASCAR was up more than IndyCar, I think it brings the tide up. All motorsport is cool, so I like that Formula 1 is getting the popularity it's getting, and at a time that at least the races are fun to watch.
Well, we'll call the next episode then with Oriol the tangents issue, because also, Oriol, we're going to get your take as well on why Spain breeds so many incredible MotoGP riders as well at the moment.
Exactly.
So there's plenty to discuss, but for the moment, thank you guys for sort of crossing the T's and dotting the I's on IndyCar 2025. We didn't supply all the answers, but we did sort of we did get to the heart of a few of them. So thanks for tuning into this Racer Debrief, and we'll catch you next time.